Happy Cinco de Mayo, friends! Today, we are throwing it back to 2021 with one of my favorite recipes, instant pot fish tacos with cabbage slaw. This recipe was inspired by the folks that are amazing at 365 Days of Crockpot. I originally aired this episode during the pandemic as part of my Tasteful Tuesdays series, and I'm so excited to bring it back to you now. If we haven't met yet, hey, I'm Marissa, and I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist and the founder of Rev Health, where I help people heal their relationship with food and feel incredible in their bodies with nutritious, delicious, and easy meals that you can bring to your table in a way that actually works for your life. So whether you're cooking solo or with family, this is a fun, flavorful, and it's also surprisingly easy recipe that's packed with nutrition, so perfect for celebrating. So let's get ready for a little education, entertainment, and a whole lot of fun. This is our recipe. So in the past, what I have done is I've kept this up during the entirety of the presentation. So this way you can access it while you are cooking yourself. And what I'm going to do is I will continue to go in and out of the Instant Pot Fish Tacos for today. When we are doing that, this way you could go back and see the recipe, but then you could also see what I'm doing. You'll have that big screen so that you can access what we're doing. So this recipe I did adapt from 365 Days of Crock-Pot, which is really awesome if you do have a crock pot or an Instant Pot. It's really just incredible amounts of unbelievable recipes that you can try. The total will take about 20 minutes for us to prep and then about 2 to 5 minutes for the cook time. And this will yield 4 to 6 servings. So we'll do this in steps. I'm going to start with the coleslaw, and then we'll let that sit as we prepare the coleslaw. So we'll let it sit on the side, which is good because then it'll absorb all the juices. And then we'll start on the fish. We will end with the sauce, and then we'll actually serve it. So I'll show you how you can prepare a couple of them. And then you could also see how you can store some for later if you're cooking this for later too. So let's get started. I'll stop my share so that you can see my screen a little bit better. And all right, and I'm going to start with my big bowl. So usually I use clear bowls so that you can see very easily in our bowl how we're going to do this. And I'll also show you, I just bought a pack of coleslaw. So this is just a 14-ounce pack of pre-shredded coleslaw. Of course, you could get cabbage, and you can decide to, because that's all it is. It's just cabbage. You could get a red or a white cabbage, and you can do that and then just chop it on your own, or you could just buy one of those prepackaged ones, which is what I did. Okay, so I'm going to take you down to my cutting board so that you can see how to do this, and then I will also bring you back to my main screen, as I mentioned before, so that you have the ability to, look at the recipe. Okay, so what we'll do is I'll just put this off to the side. So this is my prepackaged coleslaw. It's about 14-ounce pack. So I'll just put that off to the side for now. You'll need about 2 to 3 limes. And so what you'll want to do is just cut down the middle, and we're going to squeeze our lime juice. And you have 2 options for squeezing lime juice into the bowl. You can either get yourself one of those citrus squeezers, which is what I have. I'll show you that. So it's such a handy little citrus squeezer. There's actually even a smaller one of these for limes, and that's green. This one's a lemon one, but I felt like it wasn't so super smaller than this that I needed to get. So I just figured one of these is fine in my house for the lemon or lime. But I also do have another one for oranges. Love that thing. Okay, so we'll use about 2 to 3, depending upon how limey you like your coleslaw. And then this just really squeezes right out. So it's very easy. You just squeeze it, and then all of the lime juice comes out without any of the seeds. So really easy enough to use. And you could have your kids do it. This is kind of a fun little kids thing to do. I usually will have my kids do it. So if they were here, they would want to squeeze that lime juice right into the bowl. So 2 to 3 is sufficient. Maybe what we'll do is I'll start with 2, and then we'll see if we need to add the other third one. We're going to need lime for this recipe anyway, so we could keep the other half just in case we're not using it for the coleslaw. Okay, so we'll do that first. Then we're going to want to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. So you can use a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. I'm just going to do half of this, half teaspoon. And then we'll kind of do salt and pepper to taste at the end just to see if we need to add more. I'll just put a little pepper in, a couple of cracks of fresh ground pepper. So this is fresh ground pepper. And then we need olive oil. For olive oil, really don't need much. About a whole teaspoon is really all you need. So this is my half teaspoon right now. So I'm going to put 2 of these. So it's a whole teaspoon that you'll need. You can use more if you feel like you like it a little bit more oily, but a half teaspoon is really sufficient. And then just put that on here in case we need it. And then we're going to take our bag and just throw it right in there. And we'll let it sit on the side because we really want the coleslaw to absorb all of the juices. Now remember, cabbage is incredibly healthy. So cabbage is a cruciferous vegetable. And if you went to my recent 7 cancer fighting foods presentation, I did list cruciferous vegetables as one of them. And cabbage is a cruciferous vegetable. And it's because of the sulfuric compounds in it. So cabbage is also quite a extremely healthy food with those sulfuric phytochemicals in there, flavonols, that is absolutely cancer fighting. So having other cruciferous vegetables in your diet throughout the week is extremely important. So whether or not you like cabbage, maybe try out other types of cruciferous vegetables, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, broccoli, you know, there's a lot of them in there. Cabbage is a big one. So I would highly recommend utilizing cabbage throughout the week. So this is perfect, I feel like, for this particular amount of cabbage, that 14-ounce pack. I don't think it needs more, but we are going to taste. So what are we tasting this for? We're tasting to see if it needs the additional lime and any more salt and pepper. So, and then we'll just leave this off to the side because this is going to be part of the fish taco filling, but it's also going to be something that you can use just as a side so that you have the vegetable as a side dish. And remember, I'm not putting any mayo, anything in this. So it's really just a nice, very light coleslaw. You can add a little mayo. We are going to use some for the actual lime crema that we're making, which is that sauce to put on the tacos, but otherwise you really don't have to add anything to it. So let's see how this tastes, and I'll see if we needed to add a little bit more salt and pepper. Okay, so really nice. I do not think it needs anything else. I'll probably add just a touch of salt, but really we aren't going to need much. I just sprinkle just a little bit, probably about a 1/4 teaspoon. If you like extra pepper, which I do, put a little extra pepper in there for a kick, and then you're good to go. So that's just a little salt and pepper. And let's just stick this off to the side. Oh, by the way, you know, I usually start off with a drink, which so I'm just going to put this off to the side. Usually start off with a drink, and I actually do have something to share with you. So why don't I do that? So I'm calling this, instead of a margarita, a macarena, because it's a mocktail, so there's no alcohol in it. And I just used a little, you know, margarita glass. I put some fresh ice in it, so that's all that's in here now. And if you have one of those, and lime is the theme today if you haven't recognized that. So I have a lot of limes in front of me right now, and this is also a lime LaCroix. And we're going to be putting lime LaCroix into our macarena. Macarita. And I have some limes as well for our macarita, and then some kiwis just with that green theme. So here's how I'm just going to do it. I'm going to crush up, this is actually one whole kiwi. I'm going to crush it up a little bit. It's a very soft kiwi, and so we'll just crush it, and we'll add this to our macarita. I totally made that up, by the way. I've never heard macarita before. So if that exists, then maybe that's a thing. I'm going to have to Google that after to see if there's any other macarita ideas, but I thought it was an interesting thing because I don't think you want to be drinking at 11 a.m. on a work day, but maybe you do. Never know. Somebody's drinking right now at 11 a.m. Okay, so this is just one mashed kiwi. And I'll probably just put like a tablespoon or two of something of this in there. And then let's pour our LaCroix into the Margarita glass and put a little lime juice in there. Little lime juice. Can't go without some lime juice today. Have a lot of that. And maybe I'll put a tablespoon of the kiwi. Mix that in there a little bit. Ooh, yummy. So this is kind of in place of a mixed drink, which is always going to add some sugar. And so you could always add fruit in place of sugar to be able to create that nice low sugar flavoring to any drink you have. So instead of adding an actual juice, you're just adding fresh squeezed fruit. And then let's stick that nice, you got to do. Cheers to you today, Taco Tuesday. So good. It really is. I mean, I really like this. I really like it. Love it. Margarita. I'm going to put this recipe. It was not in the slideshow, so hopefully you watched that. I'll put the recipe on Teams so you have it. That is delicious. Love that. So good. I'm going to make that more often. I just didn't know if it was going to work out today, but it did. It really did. All right, so let's share my screen again so that you can see the next step. The next step of our recipe, so we did the coleslaw, is that we're going to use our fish next. So we're going to use a large bowl and we will start mixing our marinade first. I'm just going to set this to the side so I could bring about the next item on this list. And so I'll use my big bowl. And so we're up to the fish part, number 2. And let me, while you read that, I'm just going to get the cod that I have for today out of the refrigerator because I didn't want to leave it out on the countertop. Food safety. Always keep your food nice and cold unless you are ready to make it and prepare it. So I have my cod, which is about 1 pound of cod for today. You could do 1.5 as well. This is just from QFC. So we'll put that right here when we're ready to use it. And let's bring it down to the actual bowl itself so that you can see what we're going to do. So I'm going to, again, stop my share and then bring you down to this bowl. I think you could see that. Let me just bring it down. Okay, there we go. Much better, much better. Okay, so what we'll do is into a large bowl, we're going to mix together the lime juice again. So for the fish, we need about half cup of lime juice. Now, you can either use that the squeezer, or I also have one of these lime. I have a lot of things, but I have this other little device that you could basically just get the lime juice into this cup area, and then you can pour to measure. What I'm going to do, just in the interest of time, is I will be using a already pre-purchased lime juice, even though I have a lot of limes, because I'm going to use them in the end too. I'm going to use this pre-purchased little lime juice thing, and I always recommend having these around, just because when you have them and you don't have a lime, it's just so much easier to say, oh, I have lime juice around no matter what. So I always like this to have this in a pinch. So we're going to add about a half cup to our bowl. And so I have 2 of them in the case that we need to add another one, because I always use this. Or actually, you know what we'll do? So we'll use all of this. And then I also have the rest of that other line that I just cut. So I'll show you how that other device works. So we have this. You basically would just squeeze on the top of this and then squeeze it into here, and then you have your fresh lime juice, which is actually going to just fall into this cup. It's a silicone little cup, and just continue to get it out. The only thing is, which I don't like about this one as much, is it does get a little of that pulp, but it doesn't get any of the seeds. So you have still a little bit of the pulp if you wanted to remove that. Okay, and it also doesn't get as much as that other juicer that I have. So just love that juicer. I could really be a commercial for that juicer. It's so phenomenal. So we'll just do the other one in there. Okay, almost there. Almost at that half cup. We may have to, I have more limes, but we may just use the rest of the lime juice. Okay, so we're going to use the rest of this lime juice and put in that half cup of, oh man, all right, of the lime. So Again, just a half cup is all you need. And remember, this is the marinade part for the fish. So we're just going to put that whole half cup in here. We could always add more limes. We have a lot of that if we feel like we need it. And we're also going to add some lime zest. So I have a zester over here, and you don't need much. So for the lime zest, all you need for the fish part, because you'll need a bunch of zest for the other parts too, is you'll need about 2 teaspoons of, 1 teaspoon for the fish and then another teaspoon for the actual sauce. So maybe you want to just zest the entire lime. 1 lime is about that 1 teaspoon, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. So let's see how much we could get out of that one. And then if I have to zest another one, I will. But we'll put about, for the fish, about 1 teaspoon of a lime zest. And do you have to do this? No, but you get more of that added lime flavoring when you do something like this. And the zest also has a little bit more of that vitamin C, a little bit more of that pulp. So you're getting a little bit, tiny amounts of fiber. It's more of a flavoring. And you can also get a good workout for your arm. I feel like my bicep and shoulder are already starting to feel this because you really do have to push hard to get some of the zest off. If you've ever zested anything before, it's hard work zesting. You got to put somebody to work in the kitchen. You got to get a little partner, friend, or kid at work doing something like this. Okay, we're almost there. Almost there. And we're going to add that to our bowl. Okay, that looks good. So let me grab that teaspoon again. Okay, so, we have more than enough. So we're just going to add 1 in there, and then we'll add the other one to the sauce. Okay. So I have my lime juice and I have my zest in here. Remember, that's going to be half a cup of lime juice and about 1 teaspoon of a lime zest. We're also going to mix together the taco seasoning. So taco seasoning, if you don't have, you could also add some chili powder. I just like taco seasoning because we do every single week Taco Tuesday or Taco Thursday. Sometimes we do it 2 times. You'll just need about 1 teaspoon of the taco seasoning. And we're also going to do 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. So we're going to do 1 teaspoon of taco seasoning. It's just a nice little thing to have in the kitchen if you really like having tacos and Mexican food. Okay, so then we're also going to do, let's do, 1 teaspoon of the garlic powder and 1 teaspoon of the taco seasoning. So 1 teaspoon of garlic powder as well. And what else are we doing? We're going to put some salt. Okay, that's the only other thing. So 1 teaspoon of salt. And for salt, I like kosher salt. I think that it's one of those things in the kitchen that you just need to have when you're cooking all the time. It just makes the food, it pops the flavor very nicely. And it's a nice way to cook. Okay, so we're going to do 1 teaspoon of our kosher salt. And we will add the tilapia to this. I'm just going to mix this first just to make sure it's all even. And then we're just going to add the tilapia to this and leave it in there as we prepare our Instant Pot. Okay, very easy to mix something like that. Okay, so now let's break well, you don't even have to break it into chunks. You could just kind of let it sit in there. And then if we have to break it into chunks for the Instant Pot to fit on the trivet, then we'll do that. So here's our tilapia. And I'm just going to put the whole thing directly into our bowl so that it kind of gets just a little marinade. You could also, let's say you're making this in advance, you can put the whole thing into a bowl and just marinate it. It'll be even better than doing it right on the spot, where that's what I love doing with my fish and with my meat too. I will just keep the marinade with the fish for even a full 24 hours. And then you really get good flavoring with it. So let's do as long as we can right now with this before we put it in the Instant Pot. It'll be really delicious. So let's, but again, if you're doing this in advance, this is a great place to do your coleslaw part, do the fish. and then do the crema part, which I'm going to show you next. And then you have it all to go. So you've done all your meal prep, and you've even made the flavor better. I'm just washing my hands. You've even made the flavor better by letting everything sit for longer. So this is one of those types of meals that if there's ever a meal to prep in advance, this is the one. So that this way you don't really need to, you have just such an excellent flavor for the evening. Okay, so we're going to leave this right now. I'm going to bring you back up, and I'll show you what we have that we're going to do next. Get a little bit of my macarena. I keep on wanting to say macarena, but this is not a margarita. It's a macarita. Macarita. I made it up. So good, so good. So. Okay, so we're going to let that fish sit, and let's just get our Instant Pot ready. So I have a 4-quart, but I think a 6-quart would have been better. You're going to need the trivet part that comes along with it. So this is the trivet part, and you're going to need to have it all clean, ready to go. So you'll put the trivet right inside. Put the trivet right inside, and then you'll add about 1 cup of water to the bottom, so that it's going to act like a steamer, like you're steaming it. So let's just add 1 cup of water. It doesn't have to be hot or cold, just 1 cup. And then really you just want to make sure that when you are adding the water that it doesn't go over the trivet. So you're basically just bringing it right, you're just bringing it right underneath the trivet so that this way the water doesn't go over the trivet. That's just kind of your goal with that, so that it acts like a steamer. And then, you know, we're only going to be putting it on manual pressure for 2 minutes, and then it should be done. I think because I have a little bit of a thicker fish, I'm probably going to keep it in manual for 5 minutes. And then once we release the pressure valve and we let it just steam, I'll let it sit for another 2 minutes. So, so let's do that. And if you have it, just turn on your Instant Pot now. And then, gosh, I would hate to put this in now because I think it would be so lovely if it just sat there a little bit longer in this sauce, but it is what it is. You know, if you're doing this in advance and you're not doing it with me today, I would make this, let it sit in a nice flat, or not even a bowl, in like a nice flat pan in your refrigerator, and then let it sit for maybe even 24 hours. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to put it right in there, and I'm going to put it in for about 5 minutes, even though the recipe says you could have it in for 2, just because I want to make sure it cooks all the way through. I have a very, very thick piece of cod today. Again, you don't have to use cod, you could use tilapia. And then I may actually even pour some of this marinade on top of it, just so that it gets a little bit extra in there. Even if it does fall to the bottom with the water, that's fine, because you're still getting, you know, more steam. You're basically steaming this with all the flavoring. So fine to do. I'm just going to wash my hands one more time so that we don't have any food safety hazards in the kitchen. And then when you put the top on, remember, always make sure that your vent, that it's sealed at the very top. And then again, we're just going to do our manual for about, I'm going to do 5 minutes. Okay, so that'll go for 5 minutes. And if you are in a crunch for time and nighttime, Instant Pot is unbelievable. I just use it all the time. I actually used it last night for shredded chicken. The best, the best, the best. It really is an incredible device for the kitchen. Let's bring you back to my recipe so you can see what's next. So we're going to do that for about 5 minutes. Oh, if it was frozen, if you have a frozen Instant Pot, a frozen fish, then that should be a little bit longer. The recipe calls for 4 minutes, but if it is a thicker piece of fish, you may want to double that amount of time. Okay, so we are going to do the sauce next, and the sauce is really that lime crema sauce that you would see on whether it's quesadillas or burritos. I love it for fish tacos. I actually just like having this sauce around for anything, so I'm going to show you how to make that. The recipe that is 365 days of crock pot, they wanted to use a sour cream, so to reduce the saturated fat and to add to the protein content and probiotic, I don't recommend using sour cream. I always have a Fage Greek yogurt in the house for that reason. It's always a great substitute for things like that. So let's go ahead and make our actual sauce now. So this is for the lime crema sauce, and I'm going to stop the share again so that you can if you want to just take a last peek at those ingredients. So what we'll do is we're going to use, if you could use a bowl. I kind of just like using one of these already, storable type of mixing items. This is for dressings or for really anything. And then this way I could just have it for later and I don't need to transfer all of the ingredients to a different bowl. So I'm going to bring you down again. So we're going to use this, and what we're going to do is we're going to add about a 1/4 cup of a mayonnaise. You could use a light or a regular. We'll also add about a 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt. So, a little trick, I'll just start with some of the other items first, so that this way, what were the other items? We have about another tablespoon of lime juice. So let's start with that one, because then this way it'll be a little bit more liquidy before I add the other ingredients in. So about a tablespoon of lime juice to this. You could also double this recipe if you want a lot of extra lime crema for other items that you're making throughout the week. So that could be something you may want to try doing. And then we want to take the rest of our lime zest that we just had from before and put the rest of the lime zest, so about 1 teaspoon of a lime zest. I'm going to put the rest of that in there. You could have more if you made a lot more lime zest, totally fine too. Get as much lime zest as you think you need in there. Actually, I'm going to take some more from this nice little, just to add some more. Why not? Get as much lime zest as we can. Okay. So about 1 teaspoon of lime zest. Then you're going to also want to add your spices. But before we do that, let's add our other ingredients. So we're going to put about a 1/4 cup of a mayonnaise. So that's our next part here. You can also use some of those plant-based, the avocado mayo. Those are also nice, and those don't use the egg. So you could do that. Let me just get a spatula to get that out of there. Okay, so that's a 1/4 cup of the mayo. And then we're going to do about a whole 1/2 cup of the Faye Greek yogurt. So putting that off to the side again. So a whole 1/2 cup of Faye Greek yogurt. Here's my 1/2 cup. And again, such a nice thing to have around. If you have Greek yogurt, you can have it for a snack, you can have it for breakfast, and you could use it for lime crema. You could use it for so many things. We use this really in place of so many different, you could even use it in place of some coconut. And if the recipe is calling for a high saturated fat coconut, you could use it in place of that. All right, so we have about a 1/2 cup of our Greek yogurt right here. And remember, we're mixing this all for our lime crema. Okay, let me just get some of that off the side. And we still have to add our spices, but I'm just going to start the mixing process. And I have a couple of spices to put in there, so let's put in our spices next. So for our spices for the sauce, we are still going to want to have garlic powder. So you want about a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. And then more for garlic lovers, or regular garlic is fine too. About a 1/4 teaspoon of a kosher salt. And then we'll do our cumin. And if you really like spicy, you could also add cayenne pepper. So about a 1/4 teaspoon of our kosher salt. And then we're going to add our cumin, a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. So there's our cumin. And almost done. Some cumin to that. And then we're going to add, actually, you know what? So you can add another 1/8 of a teaspoon of a cayenne pepper if you want. But because I know my kids are going to want to eat this, they really trying so hard to get them to like the spicy stuff. But for some reason, it's just not happening yet. You really got to start them young, I think. And I didn't start them young enough. And they are young kids still, but it's like you almost need to give it to them right off the bat. But anyway, so I'm not going to put the cayenne pepper, but that's all you need for the sauce. If you feel like you want a little bit more of a looser sauce, so this is kind of, it's a little dense, but I think that it's good enough. I mean, we don't want it to be too loose. Then you can add more lime juice. I will probably just do a small little taste just to see. I did the exact recipe for this sauce, so I'll let you know if it needed anything else. But I think that this is sufficient as far as what it will be. Also, if let's say you're keeping this in the refrigerator, then it may just be a little dense and you may want to add some lime juice to it later on. So let's see how we did. Oh, it's so good. I love it. I really do. I really do. I really do. It's good how it is. I really wouldn't add anything else. I'm probably going to add a little lime juice later just to thin it out if I wanted to add it to the present, just to add it at the end. But otherwise, it's really good. Kind of just want to lick this, but I'm not going to do that. It's so good. All right, so I'm going to just save this for later. What do we have next? So let's see. I think we probably are just now going to wait for the fish, and then we just need to put it all together. So while we do that, we might as well do our avocado. So as you can see, there's avocado, there's cilantro. That's just when you're ready to serve. We can do that now, so just we have it ready. But truthfully, when it comes to avocado, I do like to have that. I do like to cut it at the very, very end, right before I'm ready to serve. But I'll show you what I do if, let's say, you are cutting like half of it, like what I'm doing now, and you want to save the other half for later. So if you want to save the other half for later, you want to save the part that has the pit. Why? Because it won't oxidize the rest of the avocado because the pit is still in there. And then you want to, because this is a lime dish and you're going to be using the flavoring of lime, take whatever lime you have left and just kind of spritz the juice on top of the green part. So that will prevent the browning effect, which is the Maillard reaction for all those science freaks. I love that. But the Maillard reaction is where the food browns. You have that happening in apples. You have it happening in bananas. And so this is going to prevent that from happening. And then you can put it in a Tupperware, or you can put it into a Ziploc, whatever you prefer, and keep it for later. I'm just going to grab my Tupperware, and you can keep it for later without it oxidizing, which is so great. And then you could save it so that you're not wasting food. So this is going to go in for later into my refrigerator. And that is where it will stay until I'm ready to use the other half. But I am going to cut some quarters, some chunks for the serving of this particular tacos, because I do want to plate it for you so that you can see it. So, and then maybe I have a little cilantro too. I didn't really put that into the grocery list, but you could of course decide to use cilantro as well. So you can decide to, this is a nice avocado. It's easy, it's very, very ripe. So I would recommend getting a nice ripe avocado so that this way it's easy to peel the skin off. Like, right, you see how easy it was for me to peel that skin? That's because it's a ripe avocado. If it's not ripe, it's going to be a lot harder. And if it's overly ripe, you'll see all of it brown already. It's not like you can't eat it like that, but it's just the flavor is going to be much less just avocado-y and nice and dense. So the skin just falls right off when it's nice and fresh. See, nice and fresh avocado. And then it'll be much easier to actually cut into the chunks. So we'll cut those chunks up right now, just so we have it done. And so that when we're ready to plate it and serve it, that it looks wonderful and nice and delicious. So I'm just going to make it into little quarter chunks over here. And then we'll set that aside until we're ready to plate. You could also have pico de gallo ready to go for later. That's fine too. We usually will have pico de gallo or some salsa on our Taco Tuesday night. So I have that already kind of ready to go for later. And let's see where we're at for, oh yeah, and then I wanted to talk about tortillas with you because that's important. Okay, so this is almost done. Oh, you know what? I actually think that I put it on a little bit more. So it probably is done, but let's just leave it on there for, okay, so let's put this into a little bowl and set it off to the side. So nice avocado chunks that we could put at the end. And then I want to talk to you about tortillas. So you could do the smaller tortillas for this. You could do the larger depending upon how much fish you want per taco. And I like the smaller one. Oops, I like the smaller ones. Loose avocado. let's just get that. I like to do the smaller ones just because for tacos, sometimes it looks nice, but also the bigger ones, you could just get more in there. So it's more of a burrito. But one thing I did want to talk about with regards to tacos is really the kind that you're going to purchase. So I like to get, and maybe I should stop the share and just show it to you so that you could see it. So I like to get the white corn tortilla ones. And so the reason why I like that, so per serving, you're getting 2 grams of fiber, which is excellent. And you'd want a little bit more than 3, which is excellent, but these, you at least don't have 0 grams, which is nice. The reason I like corn over flour, even if it's a low carb, you'll see a lot of those in the store, oh, low carb, and it's going to be very enticing to get the whole wheat version, right? Because everybody's telling you you need whole wheat, or it's going to be enticing to even get the flavored ones, the spinach ones, or low carb ones, all of the keto ones, you'll see all of that. Get the corn ones. Not only does I think it tastes great, but it also won't have any of the hydrolyzed oils in it. There's usually hydrogenated oils. There's added saturated fat. There's lots more additives in the other ones. You don't need it. This is just crushed up corn, some masa flour, doesn't have much else. So, and a little salt. Much healthier when you get the corn ones. The way that you'd want to prepare this is by following the instructions. So on the back, usually it'll just tell you to put it, you could even put it in the microwave with a wet paper towel and just let it sit there and ready to serve, or you could pop it onto the stovetop with a little oil and you could have it that way. So I just wanted to put a plug in for corn tortillas because I think that those are your best bet. Cheers to corn tortillas. Really love this thing. Okay, so let's check on our fish, see where we're at with that. So we're going to open up the vent, and so I just opened up the vent so that it is not going to be in the sealed position anymore. So like I mentioned, I want that to completely depressure, and then it could even sit there for a little bit longer. We'll probably take the internal temperature with a thermometer. You want the internal temperature of your fish to be at 145. So I usually like to keep this little digital one in the kitchen just because it's so easy. And then if, let's say, it needs to sit there a little longer, you could kind of repressurize it, much easier, but this one's easy. I use this for turkey too. And then you want to just stick it right in the middle and take the temperature. Okay, so looks like it is depressurized. So let's take that internal temperature and then we'll see if we got it to 145. It looks good. At least it looks good, but let's just test it. So I'm going to go right in the middle of it, test it. Oh yeah, we're at 158, so we're good. We are at 145 or above, so that's excellent. It's all ready, and it's nice and safe to eat. So just putting that again to the side. And then let's break up our fish into little chunks, and we're going to put that into a bowl as well so I could save some for later. So I usually like to put all of this stuff into Pyrexes and to containers until it's ready to serve. This is one of my favorite ones. It's a nice little meal prep container. It's a glass one because then you could reheat it in the microwave. You could even reheat it in the oven. So one of my favorite little containers, and I got it off of Amazon, so I could share a link if you're interested. But so let's see how we did. I'm going to take you down to the cutting board again, cutting board area. And let's get our fish out, put that on the countertop. All right, so I'm going to just transfer it to a bowl, and then we will cut it up into some chunks. All right, almost ready to get that out. Hold on. Sorry, I just don't want to burn myself. It's very hot, so bear with me. But you'll see that when you do anything in the Instant Pot, if you have never used it before, the Instant Pot will tenderize your protein in such a magnificent way. It's so tender. And with fish, it makes it very, very flaky. And that's exactly what you're after when it comes to fish tacos. You want it to be flaky. Okay, so this is our fish tacos. Look how yummy. This is the cod. So good. It smells delicious in here. And it kept all of that marinade. You see, it kept it all in the Instant Pot. It didn't go anywhere. So it's all there. Yay. Ready to go. Okay, so you can either keep it whole like this. I think I'm going to keep some pieces whole, and then I'm going to chop up some others so that we can assemble our fish tacos. So I'm just going to keep some pieces whole, and if some break off, that's fine. We'll use those for our fish taco, because remember, I wanted to show you how you can meal prep this for later as well. Now, if you have this, obviously you want it warm. If you want to reheat it, this is why I like some of these dishes, because you could then reheat this on low in the microwave, and it will still preserve all of its flavor. So really nice. Let's assemble. Let's make it happen. So I'll just make one today. So I have all of my stuff that I need now. I have the fish, I have the avocado, I have the coleslaw, and I have our fish, I have my street tacos, and I also have my macarita, because you need one of those as well. And oh yeah, and I have my lime crema sauce, so that's also a very, very vital part of this. So we have our vital part of this as well. So let's kind of get a plate out and assemble this and let you know how it tastes. So if you wanted pico de gallo, you can also add that to this. Now again, you may want to warm up your Mission street taco or whatever brand you use. You may want to do that, but for just assembling purposes, I'm just going to show you what this is going to look like. We're going to do one. You know what, let me get a better one. Maybe we'll do that one. This one kind of has a little rip in it, so don't want to use that one. Maybe I'll make two. Why not? Because I'll have this for lunch. And then maybe have a nice hefty amount of coleslaw on the side with something like this, so that you have a nice plate balance of veggie and carb and protein. Okay, so we're going to put our fish in first, and I'm going to take a fresh fork out, and so I'm going to break apart some of the fish just a little bit. You can also put the lime crema at the bottom, which I may do a little bit of, so I may start with that actually. Just because this is a dry corn tortilla right now, so you'll see how thick that lime crema is, but it comes out nicely. Waiting, here it comes. But it's good that it's coming out this thick, by the way, because this is how you make those nice drizzles. You know how when you go to the nice places, they make those drizzles. So this is kind of how they do that. They probably have a smaller head to do that too, but it's nice. It comes out nice. So I'm just going to put some on the bottom, and then I'll put some on the top as well. And then we have some great flavoring to this. Okay, so that's good. And then I'm just going to spread this out a little bit. Yum. I'm so excited to eat this. I'm sorry that you're not joining me. Wish that I could serve you right now. I love serving, love hosting gatherings, things like that. Okay, so we'll break apart some of these pieces right in there. And you could load it with fish. I mean, you don't have to be, you could be generous. I don't see any bones, but you may want to just check for a little bit. I don't see any in something like this. It's really, really nice. And nice flaky fish, easy to break apart, especially from the Instant Pot. It just cooked very nicely. Let's see some more pieces that are already broken. So that looks good. And put that right in there. Okay. Oh, make it nice and presentable. Maybe one more piece. Okay. And then we'll put our coleslaw and our avocado. So a little bit of coleslaw. Slaw is wonderful in fish tacos. I love putting fish taco slaw together each week. And then we'll just add a couple of cubes of avocado to this. And there you have it. This is your fish taco, ladies and gentlemen. If you do have any questions, so hold on. Let me just wash my hands. I don't want to end it like that, but you could look at that fish taco and wish that you were in the kitchen right now. I wish you were in my kitchen too. This is our fish taco. It's really nice. I think you could make it very pretty if you had your red coleslaw. Whoops. So red also just will pop some of the color out and something like this, but it's very, very yummy looking. And I could take a bite for you just to see how he did, because I usually will do that when I'm on the call. So why not? Feel like we got to see really how we did today. So let's see. All right. Okay, I really loved it. I mean, it was very good. It was very good. I love this fish. Very light. The flavors are very nice. They came out very nice. I don't think it needed more. I was thinking of putting more lime crema in at the end. I don't think it needed more. You could kind of just spread it on the bottom, and it's very light and, again, nutritious, delicious, and easy. So I hope you liked that today. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ever reach out.